Welcome to my airplane home. I live in a Boeing 727 jetliner.
We bought an abandoned high school and converted it into 31 apartment units.
I bought an abandoned lighthouse from the federal government for $71,000.
People thought that we were crazy for wanting to turn an abandoned baseball stadium into apartments.
A small village in Sicily was auctioning off homes starting at €1 bid.
Before we bought the building, the school was vacant for about 10 years.
We were thinking a WeWork space, a concert hall, beer garden, no shortage of ideas on what to do with the space. But after seeking, counsel and advice, we realized that residential is the best path forward for this building.
Welcome to Bowtie High in Homestead, Pennsylvania.
My name's Adam Colucci. I'm 35 years old. I own an audio-video company, and I'm a real estate investor.
My name is Jesse Wigg. I'm 35 years old. I'm a real estate agent and a real estate investor.
My name is Dan Spanovich. I'm 42 years old. I'm a real estate developer and a lawyer.
We bought an abandoned high school in Homestead, Pennsylvania for $100,000 and converted it into 31 apartment units.
A one-bedroom apartment rents for about $1,400 a month, and a two-bedroom rents for $1,600 a month.
I was made aware that the high school was for sale from a local individual. I live in this area and they know I'm involved in real estate, so the building was brought to me off market. Originally they were asking $225,000. I put the property under contract initially at $175,000. After inspections, I was able to get them down to $100,000.
So we split all of the profits and the expenses based on our proportional share in the project. We started renting out the units at Bowtie in October 2021 before we had the building completely finished. And it took us about 6 months to lease up the building. All the money we make from Bowtie, we're reinvesting into the Schwab School, which is right across the street, obviously, until that construction's finished.
My role here at Bowtie was designing the layouts of the apartments and trying to minimize plumbing stacks to lower construction cost. I also worked closely with National Park Service to make sure we got historical tax credits on the building. The main things were to keep the historical significance of the exterior of the building and the hallways of the building.
My role here at Bowtie was primarily around the overall design of the building, the finishes that we used in each apartment, and a lot of the common space was designed by me as well.
My role in the project was essentially boots on the ground construction management of the project.
Going into the project, we were certainly concerned with the finances and the construction cost. We didn't know what apartments we're going to rent for in the area. And actually in the beginning, we were funding it with our own money. We had a bank lined up to fund the project and they backed out last minute on us. So we had to do a scramble and find a second bank to fund the project.
I think our biggest mistake on the project was underestimating the cost it was going to take to do the renovation. Initially, we budgeted about $2 million for renovation, and in the end, it cost us about $3 million to do the renovation. I'm not sure we would have done the renovation in the beginning if we'd have known what it was going to take.
When you walk in the double doors in the front of Bowtie, you'll notice the 12-foot high ceilings, the original porcelain crown molding, the terrazzo floors, and the 10-foot wide hallways.
Probably the most dramatic feature of Bowtie High. This is the original auditorium. We restored this space pretty much from ruin. All of the plaster was failing, and we rebuilt that, kept all of the original flooring in the space. Everything's been professionally furnished. This old bookshelf came from the space, and we were able to incorporate that back into the auditorium.
Here's the gymnasium. On this side, we did free weights and cardio equipment. We decided to put up this scrim netting to kind of make the space not so large. There was bleachers on the left and bleachers on the right that we converted to storage units. And we wanted to leave the original basketball court here. Tenants are allowed to come, use this and shoot anytime they want.
Welcome to the 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 750 square foot apartment. When you first walk in, you're gonna see that we're gonna flow into the kitchen here. We have quartz countertops, we have white subway tile. Also, you're gonna see custom open shelving. We have stainless steel appliances, and this L-shaped kitchen allows to really maximize the space. As we continue on, it flows into the living room. As you know, this was a classroom before, so we were able to keep the original chalkboard, and I think it's a cool element of the building. We have super tall ceilings, probably 12-foot ceilings, and massive windows as well. And this is the full bath here. A couple of design choices. We went with a circle mirror, 1-bar lighting, and the hexagon tile. And entering into the bedroom here, as soon as you come in, you're gonna see a ton of natural light. We have windows on almost every side of the room. We have a bunch of closet space, full walk-in closet with washer and dryer as well.
I would say in the beginning, Dan and Jesse were both hesitant to get into it. I knew that we needed to have it in our portfolio, mainly because when you look out the front windows, that's what you see, so we could control what we see.
Our mortgage on the Schwab School is about $3.25 million, but we'll probably need more than that to finish the construction. The Schwab School has been a much more challenging project than Bowtie High was. When we bought it, it was in much worse condition.
When Schwab is complete, it'll be 33 apartments. Some of the amenities there will be in-unit washer dryers, indoor parking, there'll be a rooftop deck, and a common lounge on the lower level. Welcome to our next project. This is the Schwab School. You'll see this amazing staircase. We're actually gonna do a 5-tier chandelier here. Beautiful, gigantic windows with natural light.
So we're here on the 2nd floor of the Schwab School. We've got about 7 units per floor in this building. We've kept the original classrooms as 1 unit per classroom. We've got all the original doors throughout here, and this is the original hallway with the archways. I'll bring you into one of the units here. So we were able to keep the ceiling height, which is about 14 foot in these units. We're also able to save the concrete floors, which we refinished. I'll take you through the bedroom space here. We tiled those walls in the bathroom sort of to pick up the look of these concrete floors as well. Huge windows throughout this space. All of these windows are 4 foot by 8 foot tall. So we've got an elevator going in here that's going to service all of the floors. Mostly 1-bedrooms throughout the building. And these units will look out onto eventually what will be our rooftop deck above the parking garage. Most of the people in the community couldn't be happier with the renovations that we've done. These buildings sat vacant for a long time, and a lot of investors passed on them before we came along. Jesse's only investing in this community. You know, I mean, there are better places, more popular places to invest in Pittsburgh than in Homestead. And, you know, you're choosing to invest only in this community, which, you know, that's special about this property.
Renovating Bowtie High has made a big impact on many people in the community, and myself included. I live in this area, so I'm invested in this area not only financially, but from the aspect of I live here and I want the area to continue to improve.
Most things in life are never perfect. If you're successful, they're sort of half perfect and the best you can hope for. But with a jetliner home, there's precious little disadvantage. I never really perceive any downside. That said, it's a salvage jetliner. It was hardly the perfect execution. Hi, welcome to my airplane home. My name is Bruce Campbell. I'm 73 years old, and I live in a Boeing 727 jetliner in Hillsboro, a suburb area of Portland, Oregon. I'm an electrical engineer. I'm a classic nerd. I'm a circuit design engineer. I no longer work for income, but I'm as active as ever, as best I can judge. A jetliner home is a different kind of environment. It's a very strong, very long-lived, sealed pressure canister. The design and elegance of the structure is just heads and tails above any conventional home I'm familiar with. And when you live in a structure like this, you feel a little more dignified, you feel a little more fulfilled with your life. And if you're an engineer or a scientist or anyone who appreciates the elegance and beauty of aerospace technology, it's just a happier place to live. This is a futon sofa, and it folds flat for company, and an electric blanket on top. I don't know if I'd be alive right now if it weren't for the electric blanket. It's just a simple futon sofa, but it serves as my bed, and also, especially during the winter, my working surface, because it's warm, and most of my real work is simply on the laptop. This is a Faraday cage. Radio signals don't penetrate aircraft well. So currently, I just have a cell phone which leans up against one of the cabin windows, one of the polycarbonate windows, which is radio transparent, and receives an adequate, though not perfect, signal. And hopefully, at some time in the near future, I'll be able to acquire an actual Wi-Fi signal from Hillsboro, which provides a free Wi-Fi service. She understands my love of the Vision, but it's not really her take on her home environment. However, it's no problem, of course. Those sorts of differences are what makes relationships so rich. This is my primitive shower, and it's only partially fabricated because in earlier days I needed an indoor shower, but I had much higher priorities. However, the outdoor shower was so harsh that I had to establish at least some place where I could take an indoor shower. Here's a guest lavatory, my lavatory. There's a temporary sink and a clothes washer. Kitchen area, not much of a kitchen. I'm a nerd, I don't cook. 727 food service cart, which serves as my pantry. The microwave oven and the toaster oven are sufficient. In fact, I almost never use the toaster oven. It's almost always the microwave oven. That's my fridge, which is getting a little sparse, so I'll have to make a trip into town and load up again. When I was a kid of perhaps about 15, my family and I were watching the news. They showed file footage of one of the boneyards. At that time in my life, I had no idea such places existed. It was amazing to me. There were aircraft parked wingtip to fuselage as tightly as they could pack them for as far as the eye could see. My jaw dropped and I thought, oh my God, that's incredible. There are thousands of them and they're just sitting there. Why can't I have one? Shortly after graduating from college, I purchased this real estate property, the 10 acres of land which my aircraft resides upon. And I paid the mortgage off quickly. These are circuit breaker panels, and many are still active. For example, this is dome red. Once I break the circuit breaker, we lose dome red. That was a big mistake. That was a whopper class mistake. I'll never do that again. Salvage companies are wreckers. I highly recommend just buying a jetliner completely intact and completely functional, except maybe removal of the engines. That was a mistake too. Their choice was not optimum, but it is a passenger jetliner. However, it has a little history. It's also the very last flight for the owner of the airline. Aristotle Onassis, who, as everyone knows, was married to Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis after the Kennedy assassination. And so what you see in the forward galley now is Aristotle's ghost. This aircraft was all tourist class. There was no business class, no first class. It was tourist from flight deck all the way to the tail. And so the few seats I've retained are tourist class seats because that's all she had. I didn't finance anything. I don't think I could have. I don't think anybody can. The jetliner flew from Greece to Hillsborough Airport. That's about 20 kilometers from here. The engines and APU and many other elements were removed at the Hillsborough Ferry Complex, and she'll never fly again. This is an image of the aircraft during transport. We started at midnight from the Hillsborough Ferry Complex and then weaved our way through downtown Hillsborough with just literally centimeters to spare. But everything went smoothly. First time here? Ah, okay. How do I say hello in Italian? I forget. Ciao. Oh, of course, ciao. Ciao. Okay, everyone, slippers and roam around anywhere. And let me introduce you to some friends as well. This is Naomi-san, Naoko-san, Junko-chan, Kaori-chan over there, Taka-kun, and Sai-chan. I think Sai-chan is displaced for the moment. My friends are trying to warn you that the seats are not currently secured in their tracks. And they have no outer legs, so if you sit in an outer seat like my friends are, the row will flip. My guests fulfill my life in very great measure. Now, I love them dearly. They're like family. Nerd Cave. This is currently a work area for a variety of projects, some of which are simply recreational in the form of restoration of old computer systems, primarily Apple products, but also projects associated with the aircraft, for example, restoration of illumination systems. And a thermal wall so as to be able to separate the aft section from the forward section so that during the winter months I can retain a little bit more heat in the aft section. It's still very cold. You've seen this motion. The two forward wing exits are here. I use the right one a lot because I'm often interested in working or socializing on the wing. This is to keep velociraptors out. One overhead compartment which comes from another aircraft. I have two more. I'm eager to mount these, but this aircraft was not designed with mounting structure for the overhead compartments. Observer, inspector, captain, the sole authority for the flight. This person may bark out orders to any of the rest and they must obey. First officer and flight engineer. And the flight engineer station is now obsolete. The aircraft are much more refined and automated, and this position simply isn't necessary anymore. And the main entrance door is there. It's the largest access door in the aircraft. The first step is a big one. This is the main landing gear. And main landing gear strut. It's inflated to very roughly 1200 psi. Only about 800 psi is necessary to support the aircraft. The rest is excess. My temporary left landing gear support structure was rotting, so I needed to support the aircraft in such a way that I could levitate the left landing gear, remove all the old material. I put a lot of it back in, but I restructured it in such a way that the rotting elements were on the outside or discarded, and rebuilt the structure. It's good physical work. It's also dangerous. You must be very careful because basically you're lifting and lowering a house, and if you make a mistake, it could kill you. I have no regrets about pursuing this vision. It's fun. Jetliner homes are really cool, and in my experience with my guests, I do believe that humanity will embrace this vision wholeheartedly in enough proportion that we can utilize every jetliner which retires from service. The most awkward element of my life right now is that this jetliner, which I adore, is in the wrong country. It's in the wrong place for me. My dearest friends and loved ones are in Japan. I want to live in Japan or share time between Japan and New Zealand. My challenge is to execute a second project, and then hopefully a third one, and then hopefully a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a 99th and the 999th and so on. And of course, version 2 is for Japan, and it's intended to put a home, which I love, in a land I love, with the people I love. And then if I can simply regain my youth, everything will be fine.
So living in a lighthouse is not like living in a regular house. First of all, the access. You can't drive up to it. You have to park about a half a mile away. You have to carry your supplies out, so food, water, gas for the generator, all gets carried out. But once you're here, it's like no other experience. Welcome to Fairport Harbor West Lighthouse in Fairport Harbor, Ohio. Come on inside. My name is Sheila Consall. I'm 65 years old. I bought an abandoned lighthouse from the federal government for $71,000. It's in Fairport Harbor, Ohio, right on Lake Erie. When I'm not at the lighthouse, I live outside of Washington, D.C. in Ashburn, Virginia. I was looking for a summer home, someplace that was a little cooler in the summers. I heard about the government auctioning off lighthouses. I've done some historic preservation work in the past, renovated a historic home, and thought a lighthouse would be a great opportunity to combine both a summer home and my love of historic preservation. All the windows were broken, plaster was falling off the walls. There was so much to do, it needed painting desperately. I used a home equity loan to pay for the lighthouse purchase and some of the initial renovations. That was about $200,000, but it's since been paid off, and now I just pay as I go. The renovation process has been long and arduous. Even though I'm located in a state park, you have to walk a half a mile from the parking lot through a sandy beach, and sometimes the water makes it so that you have to get up on the break wall and come in that way. For large items, all of that had to come by boat. We would bring a barge up to the side of the lighthouse. The barge has a crane. The crane lifts some of the large items over the fence onto the platform, and then they're brought into the lighthouse. The biggest challenge I've had with the renovation has been utilities. The lighthouse is completely off the grid, so I had to completely renovate all of the electrical and rewire the lighthouse. When I need electricity, I flip on my generator, but I try and conserve it because it runs on gasoline, and I have to carry gasoline out here. It's my least favorite thing to carry out here. So I probably spend a few $100s a summer on gasoline for the generator. A lot of that has gone to a full kitchen, all the water treatment equipment, fully redoing the electrical in the entire lighthouse, also plumbing the entire lighthouse. The windows were also redone. A lot of the woodwork has been stripped and redone. Like any project, this cost more and took longer than I ever imagined. I originally had about a $200,000 budget to renovate the lighthouse, so I am a little over what I anticipated, but it's well worth it. This level's been fully refurbished now. We have a dining room. We have an amazing kitchen, complete with granite countertops, appliances, new cabinets. Over here, we have our living room, and we have a small utility laundry room over here. One of my favorite things about the lighthouse, and probably everybody's favorite thing, is this cast iron staircase. All the way up to the second floor, and there's another set beyond that. So the windows on this main level were one of the first projects I did, mainly because I needed light and I needed the air. All of the glass on these windows were broken out, as were the windows upstairs. But these were all hand stripped, all the paint was stripped off, the glass was replaced, the rope was redone and attached to the weights. So now they all fully function. One of my other favorite things that we've done is commission some beautiful stained glass windows. I keep a wall here of some of the volunteers who've come in along the way to help me paint, clean, refurbish, and really renovate this lighthouse. We're downstairs now in the platform of the lighthouse. This level, when the keepers lived here, was also a mechanical level, very much like it functions now. There's a large room back there, which is a cistern. The cistern holds water. Right here, we have a wine cellar, one of my pride and joys. This room is our bunk room. It's one of our 3 bedrooms. This room originally was where the coal boiler came. We also have a fully restored bathroom here for this bedroom. We use composting toilets because we're not connected to the water or sewer. And I have to collect rainwater, which goes into the original cistern downstairs. From there, that water is pumped out, treated, and is available for use in the lighthouse. Let's go upstairs. The keepers lived on this floor. The floors here are original. The dark brown floors, they were all redone. We had to refurbish a section in the middle, so I decided to put the compass rose in there. Here is the original bathroom. You can see the white hexagon tile is original to this bathroom. Everything else has been brought in during the renovation. We'll go here to the yellow room. This room was the kitchen. If you look over there, that's a chimney that you can see outside, but it's where the stove would have vented. This room, which is now the master bath, had some lines here, horizontal lines indicating shelving. So this would have been the pantry. Welcome to the service level. This level was used to service the light. Now it's used for mechanical equipment. Welcome to the Widow's Walk. We're here at the top of the lighthouse. This is the current beacon. Point out a couple of my solar panels, trying to generate some solar energy, as well as a wind turbine. This is the National Weather Service weather station. If you look all the way up to the top, you'll see the little whirligigs going. Otherwise, enjoy the view of Menor Headlands Beach and Headlands State Park. Part of buying a lighthouse from the federal government means that it comes with certain stipulations. My particular lighthouse sits on a piece of property that is owned by the Army Corps of Engineers. If I make it to 25 years, then we'll probably renew the lease again and there'll be an additional fee. This lighthouse is an active aid to navigation, which means that the beacon still comes on every night, comes on at dusk, goes off at dawn, and it is continually maintained by the Coast Guard. One thing that was very important to me when I bought this lighthouse is that I understood that this was part of this community of Fairport Harbor. So in 2012, I had my first open house. We invited people from the community to come in and take a look. Ever since then, we've had an open house around the lighthouse's birthday, which is June 9th. So every day I get asked whether I rent out the lighthouse or not. I have not rented it. I may in the future, but there's a lot of logistics that need to be organized, maybe someday. So another question people ask me is if I would do it again or I would buy another one. Probably not. This was a great challenge, great opportunity, and I loved every minute of it, but I would probably move on to something else.
In the late 2010s, towns around Italy started going viral for selling off crumbling properties for €1.
This is a €1 property. We can't walk in because the floorboards need to be redone and also the roof.
The goal? To get foreign investors to buy up the houses, rehab them, and get dwindling population numbers back up.
I have never done a renovation like this in my life. There have been 4 million moments of frustration, exhaustion, contemplation.
Of course, there's a catch. The €1 purchase is symbolic and just the start of more expenses down the line.
I am making the house of my dream. I'm expecting not to exceed 40,000. That's my budget.
I would love it to live here. You got all the view. Oh my goodness.
So how much does it really cost to buy and renovate a €1 home in Italy? And is it worth it? This is the town of Sambuca di Sicilia. In 2019, it went viral for auctioning off old homes starting at €1.
My name is Meredith Tabone, and I am 44 years old. In June of 2019, I purchased one of the €1 homes. A friend of mine sent me an article, and the article talked about a small village in Sicily that was auctioning off homes starting at €1 bid. I recognized the name of the village, and it was the same village that my great-grandfather came from in 1902 to the United States. Unfortunately, he was never able to return to Sambuca once he left, and I am the first person in our family to return to this village and to start to rebuild our family name here. So the condition of this property when I first purchased it was dire at best. There was no electricity, there was no running water, there was probably 2 feet of pigeon poop on the floor. It was very bad, but I still loved it from the moment I saw it.
Once buyers get their properties, they have to complete their renovation within a certain time frame, usually 3 years.
Cost for the original €1 home with taxes and fees was about €5,900.
Meredith decided to buy the building next door for €22,000 through a private sale. It meant more space to build the home of her dreams, but also came with much higher renovation costs.
So I'm at the end of my renovation, and the estimated completion amount is €425,000. And in today's conversion rate, that would be about $440,000 in US dollars. Welcome to my €1 home that was recently renovated, and the name is Casa del Architetto, House of the Architect, named for my father. Welcome, prego. We are now in my dining room, which turned out so great. We are in the downstairs primary bedroom. It's the biggest bedroom in the home. We are in my library, and I'm an avid reader, so of course I absolutely love the space. We are now in my bedroom. This canopy bed, it's made of acacia wood. I'm standing right above a sauna. It's a dry heat sauna that I installed, and it's beautiful. When I purchased the homes, there were no terraces, and we ended up being able to put in 2 really large terraces. That was another huge structural change. I will never sell this house. I've had many offers. I have a cousin. I've already told her she can have use of the house. If I pass away before her, and then after that, it's going to be donated to the village. Prego.
Prego.
Grazie mille.
Thank you.
This is wine for a dinner party I'm having tonight. So now that my renovation is complete, I'm thinking I want to try to spend 4 months a year here. 2024 will be my first experience with that, and we'll see how it goes.
This is one of the places with the most beautiful sunset I ever seen. Mind-blowing and an incredible experience.
One of the most well-known towns with a €1 scheme is Musomelli, where more than 100 homes have been sold for €1. In the 50s, roughly 16,000 people lived in town. Today, there are just under 10,000.
Purtroppo molti giovani sono andati a lavorare al nord Italia o all'estero, appunto per cercare fortuna e per trovare delle condizioni di lavoro migliori.
Of course, it's always sad when you leave, especially when you leave for work. You leave behind your loved one, your street, your house, everything. So it's very sad that.
Musomelli has seen an especially high level of interest from the public since it launched the €1 home program in 2017.
Chiamo Toti Nigrelli e sono il vice sindaco di Musomelli. Per noi era una cosa molto grande, sono arrivate immediatamente decine di migliaia di richieste. Nel 2017 abbiamo venduto la prima casa, già 2 settimane dopo il lancio del progetto.
Large-scale renovations mean more jobs for construction workers. The increase in foot traffic has been a boost for local restaurants and hotels.
Il turismo a Musomelli da quando abbiamo il progetto Casa €1 è aumentato del 3000%.
The town has also sold around 200 premium homes, which start around €5,000 and require less repairs.
I think pigeons were created here.
Ernest Fromm is an American who bought one of these premium homes for €15,000.
My name is Ernest Fromm. I'm 54 years old. I purchased this home. I'm very happy with it. It's 4 stories, 2-bedroom with a living room. It's big and beautiful. Along with the home for $15,000, I got this beautiful piece and these other pieces and another one in my living room. This is what sealed the deal for me. This view, I had to have this.
Rubia Daniels is a €1 homebuyer.
It was just a complete collapse house. The roof from the 3rd floor was all the way down to the 1st floor. Water running into the house, plants growing into the house. There was mold everywhere, has termites. Even though the houses were fully collapsed, it was just excitement for me. Because I work in construction, I can see the final result. This is my €1 home. My name is Rubia Daniels. I am 50 years old. I live in California, and I bought 3 €1 homes in Sicily.
She has 3 dream projects: a restaurant, a wellness center, and a vacation home. Rubia says renovating a house in Sicily takes a lot more time than it would back in California. Then again, it's also a lot cheaper.
I budget the renovation should be about $20,000, and I spend a little bit over that amount. Chiamo Rubia. For $35,000 so far, I was able to get an Italian kitchen. My bathroom has beautiful marbles. I have a historical stone wall, and the house is just incredible. I'm expecting not to exceed $40,000. That's my top limit of my budget, which I wouldn't be able to do back in California because the cost will be much higher there. This part over here is going to be my office, and I have a balcony that faces the main street. This is one of my favorite parts of the house. This is going to be my art studio. This roof was fully collapsed. This part over here is going to be the master bedroom. I can only imagine waking up and seeing this view every day. Incredible view of the valley. This is my second balcony right next to my master bedroom. And this is perfect to sit down, watch the sunset, have a cheese and some wine.
Rubia plays a large role in encouraging other Americans to buy into Musamelli's housing program.
I'm Alfredo Ramirez. I am from Petaluma, California, Northern California.
Okay, I'm Elena Ramirez. I'm from Petaluma, California. I'm his mom.
On a recent visit, Rubia hosted two friends from California on their first trip to Musamelli. They used their vacation to tour homes for sale.
There is a lot of options here for homes.
Bathroom, large bathroom upstairs as well, as well as the kitchen. And you've got a little terrace as well.
Looking around probably 10,000 euro or less.
Interested homebuyers from around the world visit every week, including the US, Belgium, South Africa, China, and Russia.
Yeah, I'm looking for possibly retirement, kind of like see what's out there in the future, you know? The housing back home is very expensive, very crazy, so I just wanted to see what's available in Italy. Saw a house here for 22 grand. I mean, it's quite a steal if you look at how big it is. It's incredible, you know?
We just need to move. I mean, get the catch.
This is how a one-year house usually looks like. So it's in not a really great shape, but has potential. I mean, it's a one-year house, so you can invest more in renovation.
For some, renovations don't always work out.
My name is Danny McCubbin. I am 59 years old.
Danny made his first visit to Musamelli in spring 2019, after hearing about its €1 scheme.
I always wanted to buy a €1 house, so I saw 27 houses, and then the 28th house was the one that I actually bought. So this is my €1 house.
Danny's renovation plans were delayed by the pandemic when he got stuck in London for 10 months.
Sadly, in that time, my €1 house suffered a lot of water damage. It was very expensive to renovate. In the beginning, I got a quote around 15,000 euros, and then that cost doubled by the time I arrived here in 2020.
Danny decided to sell his house back to the real estate agency for €1, eating the €3,300 buying fees in the process. But he was still determined to find a space for his community kitchen.
I always wanted to buy a €1 house where I could start a social project. I have a background in food. I worked for Jamie Oliver for 17 years in London. And so a lovely family came back to me with a shop space. And so we negotiated with the family, and we now pay €300 a month. Okay, buon pranzo.
Each week, volunteers at the Good Kitchen work to rescue surplus food from nearby markets and deliver grocery packages to local families in need.
My dream is that one day we will be able to provide jobs, especially for young people in the town.
Per me è un fratello. Così.
No, Danny, bravo.
Grazie.
So, what do all the locals think about this? And how is it impacting the culture? In 2021, a group of young professionals in Camerata started a nonprofit called Street 2.
I'm Gianluca, I'm 30... Sorry, I forgot my age.
I'm Martina and I'm an architect. I came back to my hometown a few years ago. I just want to give a chance to my life here.
The volunteer group advertises cheap houses at a sustainable pace, so prices and changing demographics don't get out of hand.
We aim to push away the danger of gentrification effects. We want to be sure the original aspect of the town stays the same.
The respect of the old town is the most important thing. We believe it needs to be focused on this project.
We want to be surrounded by new people. We want to be surrounded by people who can bring something to our own lives.
Yeah.
It's also personal.
Yeah, it is.
I'm very happy about all these new people that are coming here. Also, be kind to anyone because we are all human beings, so it's a good opportunity for grow as a person as well.
Each town handles its own €1 program, so it's hard to say how many homes have been sold across Italy since the concept took off. Experts estimate the campaigns have attracted thousands of visitors who've bought cheap houses across the country.
For me personally, one of the biggest challenges has been the slowness of life. But if you ask me one of the best things about living here, I would probably also say the slowness of life.
The biggest challenge for me is just the amount of carbs that they consume. Other than that, life is beautiful.
Sì, abbiamo lavorato con altri paesi che vogliono lanciare il progetto Case €1. Uno di questi è il comune di Caltanissetta. Sono stato contattato da un consigliere comunale appunto che ha voluto lanciare questo progetto a Caltanissetta, lo abbiamo aiutato e da circa 2 mesi anche a Caltanissetta è nato il progetto Case €1.
Allora, come casa ad €1 sono rimaste ben poche, diciamo sui 10-15 case. Invece delle case in migliore condizione ce ne sono una marea, più di 100.
I do sometimes feel cringy when I have people reach out to me and ask me about if they can purchase a home here and they can renovate cheaply and make money if they use it as an Airbnb. I'm very grateful that I do not know anybody doing that because I do not want this to be a village of Airbnbs.
Environmental-wise, I think using those buildings is a much better concept than having to develop something new.
A lot of people refer to this as a revival of this town, and I like to think of it more as a renaissance.
Initially, people thought that we were crazy for wanting to turn an abandoned baseball stadium into apartments.
There were 2,000 cash for clunker cars parked on the infield, 4-foot-high weeds, and 15-year-old trees were growing up in the infield because the property hadn't been used as a baseball stadium in quite a long time.
Hi, welcome to Stadium Lofts in Indianapolis, Indiana. I'm Michael Cox, and I'm 54 years old.
I'm John Watson, and I'm 65 years old. We took an abandoned baseball stadium that the city of Indianapolis gave us for $1 and turned it into 138 apartment units. There are 4 owners of the project. It's myself, my 2 sons, and Michael. My youngest son was a development associate and worked for us at the time. My older son is a passive investor. I was the board chair of Indiana Landmarks, a not-for-profit historic preservation organization, and we were postulating ideas as to what could be done with Busch Stadium. About 9 months later, after we had come up with a few ideas, they approached me again and said, if you don't do that idea you came up with to turn it into apartments, it's going to be lost. They're going to tear it down. So we put together a team and explored whether or not it was possible to do it. The city's goal was bigger than ours. We were looking to do an apartment project. The city's goal was to create a catalyst for the neighborhood and to stretch downtown beyond its current boundaries.
As well as save an historic baseball stadium that had a lot of history in Indianapolis.
As a condition of transferring the property to us, the city mandated that we build an additional 144 units outside of the stadium. Those units were built in 4 separate buildings adjacent to the stadium.
The profits from the project are split proportionally based on the ownership of the individual partners.
The cash flows from this project have been used to create other projects that we've done, as well as we're constantly reinvesting back in this project to maintain it as a great place to live.
When we first saw the stadium, we were excited about the potential of the project. We were a little apprehensive of could it really be done.
Our biggest concern when we started this project was who was going to show up and rent it. There wasn't much housing in the neighborhood. There wasn't much economic activity in the neighborhood. We were kind of pioneers when we did this project. And so we were concerned about its success, and we underwrote it very conservatively.
Busch Stadium, from a technical standpoint, was probably the most difficult project that we've done in terms of solving the construction and engineering issues that needed to be resolved in order to be able to build the project, while maintaining the character of the building and also while turning it into apartment units people would want to live in.
In the renovation, we wanted it to be stadium-like. We didn't want to take all the stadium character away. So we designed it such that when you walked into the stadium, you felt like you were walking into a historic stadium rather than an apartment building. We retained the billboards that were in the outfield, the brick wall that was in the outfield, the scoreboard. We retained the infield, and we put back the base paths in concrete to kind of pay homage to what was here before. In addition, we saved the press box on top of the 3rd floor of the building. It doesn't serve a real function anymore, but it is there because it was.
Another interesting feature that we saved were the ticket booths at the front of the stadium. So as you walk up to the front door, you still see the old ticket booths with the metal grating in them, and those areas are now inside apartments as closets. The budget for renovating Busch Stadium into apartments was about $14 million, and we stayed within budget.
The original construction loans have long been paid off, and they've been replaced with long-term permanent financing. The Stadium Flats project was built about 2 years after the Stadium Lofts project was completed. At that time, when we opened, all of those were fully leased as well.
The overall development cost of the Stadium Flats portion of the project was about $13 million.
As you walk into the stadium from the outside, you're walking towards the ticket booths that were original to the outside of the building. As you pass through the front door, you walk into the underside of the stadium still being visible.
Hi, come on into one of our study rooms. So we have 3 study rooms here, and they're located under the grandstand. So we have high ceilings all the way up to the old grandstand. Lots of open space and lots of light. Come check out our fitness center. The fitness center is another one of the spaces we built under the grandstand here. We have spaces for cardio, whether it be treadmills or bikes, free weights. And down on the end, we have another space to do personal workouts with a bench and dumbbells. Also in the fitness room, we have further sort of accented our decorating by putting some images from the old stadium on the windows. The last space we constructed under the grandstand is our bullpen. Originally, this was a conference room. You can also see in the bullpen, we have old ticket gates where the turnstiles used to be. We left installed and built walls in and around them.
We also built a courtyard for our residents to hang out in. Come on in. In the courtyard, which is adjacent to the field, we built a gas fireplace, tables and chairs, and a nice place for people to hang out. Welcome to Section 304 of Stadium Lofts. We have all the conventional amenities, full kitchen with stainless appliances, granite countertops, washer dryer, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and then we were able to expose the steel trusses and tongue and groove decking of the original roof of the stadium. One of the unconventional things we did was we exposed all the concrete floors in the units. We poured new concrete and then polished it for a finished floor. When we did the balconies, we wanted them to feel like you were at the stadium. So we used chain link fencing for the railings to create that stadium type appeal.
For me, completing this project, I found really satisfying. In one way, it was the culmination of a childhood dream. I played baseball growing up, and I always thought maybe I'd get into the Hall of Fame as a baseball player.
When we opened the project, we did tours. There was a tremendous amount of interest by people in Indianapolis coming to tour this project because almost everybody had been here for a baseball game sometime during their lifetime. And many people, this was the first experience they had going to a baseball game with their dad. So the connections were deep and people couldn't wait to come tour the project.
The neighborhood and the public and the city were all ecstatic that we were able to save the building and bring some new housing to this neighborhood.